But it is essential for you and I to pivot around Tawheed, for Tawheed is the center point of all our religious duties. I mentioned yesterday about Hindu faith, for example. If you take Allah and equate Him with any shape or form and give Him a partner and deify Him in a corporeal fashion, you are essentially belittling your own moral standards. For Allah is the source of all good morals. What does Allah tell us in the Quran? He said, if you believe in more than one God, your gods will fight. Subhanallah. Study every religion that is polytheistic. Study all the dogmas. Go back to the Greek history and read the Iliad of Homer, where Homer exemplifies the Greek gods. And you find Zeus is in constant battle with other gods. Every god is in constant battle. Study the Hindu ideology. You find there are 3 gods in the Hindu faith. Brahma, who is the god of creator, has been banished and has been vowed that he shall not have a temple because he cheated and lied. Can you imagine that? God cheated. God lied. A'udhu billah. Look how mankind fabricates. He needs a God because he knows he needs a supreme being. But what does he do? He takes him, manufactures him, puts him up there, and then creates fancy stories so that he can play with him. So Brahma is banished. He cannot have a temple, you know. In the Hindu faith, he is not allowed to have a temple. Can you imagine? The God creator is not allowed to have a temple. Who decides? The created. How funny that is. Allah creates, the creation decides now what he will be. Amazing, isn't it? Allah said, look, observe, every religion that believes in more than one God, look at them, you will find they're always fighting. So look at the source of the very divine inspiration given unto man, that if you equate anyone other than Allah, your entire moral standard will be corroded. That every religion you look that believes in more than one God, their gods are cheating, fighting, and killing, and beheading. That you have Ganesh, who happens to be the son of a god, that the father accidentally chopped his head off. Can you imagine? We're laughing at it, that's correct. It's an expression to say, how can man stoop so low and take such a divine aspect of one's own faith, and while laughing at it all the way to the temple? Huh? That God himself didn't figure out this was his own son, so he chopped his head off, and now he had to replace it, so he takes an elephant's head and puts it there. And it becomes a holy entity. Think about it. Subhanallah. Can man stoop so low? If my God, a'udhu billah, was at that level, who dares tell me what it means to be good? Can you tell me to be kind and gentle? How dare you tell me? For my very own Lord who created me, a'udhu billah, he's so mistaken and so foolish in his actions that why do I need to be good in any way? Look at what happens to society. It becomes anarchistic. It becomes destructive. That is why the belief in one God, indivisible, cannot be defined. Don't bring him down to your levels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above that. He is the unseen. People say, why is God unseen? Why can't I see him? Allah can never be seen, has not been seen, and can never be seen. Anyone who says that on the Day of Judgment we shall see Allah on a throne or something is a liar. الَّذِي لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ الشَّيْء وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is no equivalent to anything. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. You can't equate him with anything. He doesn't have a shape or form. Allah does not sit on a throne and then he's smiling and happy, and then some days he's sad or and he's angry and he's casting the destruction. This animation of a creator is forbidden. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib ﷺ tells us that Allah has 99 names. If you consider any one of those names separate to Allah, you have performed shirk. You have equated Allah in forms and you have dissected him into parts. Forbidden for you is that. But we are limited creatures. It is our limitation. And as a result of our limitation, Allah speaks to us in our limited tongue and gives us different names like Quddus, Jabbar, Mutakabbir. These names are inseparable from the quality of Allah. We cannot separate them. But because we are limited in our capacity to think, we can think only in compartmental forms. Allah in His infinite mercy has allowed that, but mankind is being warned, don't take it further than that. Ask any religion, any believer in any God, he will tell you that is correct. And that is the purification form. If you study, all prophets came. Adam alayhi salam was the first prophet. What was his message? La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. Look at Musa alayhi salam, look at Nuh alayhi salam, look at Ibrahim alayhi salam, look at Ishaq alayhi salam, Ismail alayhi salam, Yusuf alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, each one of them, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, all of them were telling us the same message. There is no God but one. Don't equate Him with anything. That is fundamental to our beliefs. And in further discussion, Allah in His infinite mercy wants us with this faculty of mind to acknowledge that. And the reason I'm stressing on it for 2 days is for a reason. Every further discussion we have hinges on this idea, that our obedience to Allah hinges on this. There's a natural consequence that when man is given the presence of understanding Allah, that naturally he or she will gravitate towards obedience to Allah. And obedience means you need to obey His prophets. It's a natural consequence. When I was in England at the university, people say, okay, what you're saying makes sense. What you're telling me scientifically, that God exists and that He is indivisible, that He is absolute, that He is ever present, that He is ubiquitous, we accept. So now where do we go from here? How do I know this God you tell me I can never see? How do I know Him? Allah in His infinite mercy tells us, هُوَ الَّذِي بَعْثَ فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَإِنْ كَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. He it is who sends prophets to you, so He's communicating to me. I was just at this camp in New Hampshire, and I met one of the camp organizers there. He's an American, very nice man, very learned man. He says, I don't believe in more than one God. God is absolute, He's out there. But I just go up to the mountains and I worship Him. I said, how do you do that? He said, I just sit on the mountain and I observe the beauty of His creation. I said, that's wonderful. Good start. He says, I see you Muslims bowing this way. Why do you do this? I said, tell me, do you admire the beauty of this creation? He said, oh, I'm in awe. I love it. I cannot get enough of the beautiful nature this God has created. I said, tell me, with all His infinite beauty that He's created, why would He deny communication with you? He put you here, He gave you eyes. قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَكُمْ وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. He it is who gave you these eyes, absara, a heart, hearing, sam'a. How little do you thank me? Well, here's the faculty. Look at it. Don't you enjoy it? Oh, I enjoy it. Look at the colors. This infinite variety of colors. He says, I enjoy it. I said, this Lord you think will put you here and deny to talk to you? He says, no, He whispers to me. I said, that's very nice. But now expand that on a social level. Imagine if we all had whispers. My whisper may be greater than yours. Then what? He said, you're right, it makes sense. So how do I take it socially? I said, dear Lord, can He leave you alone without talking to you? He says, no, it's very logical. He has to talk to me. He said, but I have been taught that all religions are man-made. I said, that is wrong. Many religions are man-made, but all are not man-made. If you look at all religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, all forms of religion, if you go to the source of it, you will find there was a prophet there who started it. You will find there was a prophet who laid the groundwork for it, and then mankind took it and twisted it and changed it to suit his own whims. The Quran mentions it all the time. He said, how many prophets did we send to you, and how many did you kill them? How many times you asked for guidance and we sent them, and you turned your backs on them and you killed them? How much did we do for you? So if you look at the root of all moral structures today in the world, you find there was a prophet behind it. So Prophet communicates. When I was asked in England, people said, that makes sense. God has to talk to me. I said, precisely. You've been given mobility. Go out and search. Find him. He's talking to you, all right? He's given you enough evidence. Now go and find him. I say, go and read the books. Go and ask. Go and question the integrity of what humankind is made up of. And I guarantee you, you will be left with no answer. But Deen al-Haq, Islam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. But the trial upon us is to believe in the unseen. For if you study human behavior, the most valuable entity in the human race is the unseen. When we start in the Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Who is muttaqeen? The one who has no doubt in this book. Who's muttaqeen? The God-fearing. Is it the one who fears the wrath of God? People think this is fear, this taqwa. Is it fear? No, no, it's not fear. It's that understanding the ever-presence of Allah, where you are constantly in a state of increased awareness, for your Lord is ever present everywhere. Everything you do, you see your Lord there, you see Allah there. Not in the physical, but in his ever-presence. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib was asked the question, have you ever seen God? He said, I never worship a God until I see him. He says, A'udhu Billah, how can you say that? Imam said, understand, let me tell you what do I mean. That we do not worship anything until we see Allah there. And everything I look around is the sha'air Allah, is the sign of Allah. Sufficient is for me to see that, for I do not need to see him, for he's the absolute creator. When man says that God needs to come in a form, means we want to belittle him. We want to form him. Can you imagine Allah sitting on a throne? That means he's limited. He's got a shape, he's got a direction. He's relative. Didn't I say the other day? Relative is less than absolute. Mankind is constantly trying to bring the absolute into the relative. You see that famous statement, can God create a rock heavy enough he can't lift it himself? Many of us have heard that question, right? Can God create a rock heavy enough which he cannot lift it himself? Satanic questioning, designed to create waswas, doubts. Put doubt in your heart. Yeah, this God, is he limited? The answer is a trick question. The answer is no. People say, aha, you see? Aha, you see God is limited. You said no. I said, if you knew English, you wouldn't get so excited. Well, what do you mean? I didn't do nothing. Exactly. Then what did you do? When you say I didn't do nothing, means you did something. But today's lingo, you know, it's all convoluted in all directions. I didn't do nothing. Well, then what did you do? So a person says, can God create a rock? The answer is no. He said, what do you mean? The answer is no. God cannot create a rock heavy enough which he cannot lift it himself. Oh, what does that mean? It means, yes, God can create a rock heavy enough which he can lift it himself. It's very simple English. In English, when you have two negatives, it by default becomes a positive, like a multiplication. I can say to you, for example, I do not like you. There's nothing wrong with that, is it? But you said, brother, why did you go around this way? You could have just told me, I like you, thank you. I do not like you, you know, because two negatives. Aha, you do not like me. Oh, then you do like me. So what they do is they put these trick questions. Why? To limit Allah. So I said, oh, since you've got this trick question, I'm going to ask you another question. Said, go ahead. Can God create another God? Good question. Now the philosopher who thinks he's a philosopher says, sure, God wants to do anything, he can do whatever he wants. I said, correction, he can't. Astaghfirullah. You're saying Allah is limited. No, he's not. But what do you mean? What is the definition of God? Is he created? No. Well, then your question is silly. How can God create a God? Because the minute he creates whatever, it cannot be a God. It's created. So the person says, true. But isn't that a limitation? Precisely not. If Allah could create another God by any definition, it means he has to share his power. He has to share his domain. He said, yes, that's a limitation. So don't you dare say that. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So it's a very basic system, but these are games and tricks played. Like, who created God? Correction. By definition, God is never created. So don't ask me that question. Like the other fish walking on the street, remember question? Same argument, same. But what happens here is that mankind is left to wonder about the unseen. You know, if you and I could see the value of tomorrow's stock market, you and I would be the wealthiest people in the world. Because all you have to do is position all your stocks in one direction, and in one day you become a billionaire. So what's the value? Value is in the unseen.